And emergency oxygen levels on board the deep-sea vessel were expected to run out this lunchtime, sadly. Downing Street has confirmed a Royal Navy submariner is now helping the rescue, and specialist equipment is also on its way from the UK. Look, yesterday on this very show, I was talking about the fact that apparently this specialist equipment that supposedly anyway can reach those depths and actually potentially get to those people has been sitting on the tarmac on a runway in Jersey since Sunday. Well, why is it on the way now? Anyway, it's been confirmed that 19-year-old Suleiman Dawood, one of the 5 people missing, is a student at Strathclyde University. I'm joined now by Simon Boxall, who is a senior lecturer in oceanography at Southampton University. Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Has it been too little too late if we're just flying over equipment now? It just seems almost a bit pointless at this stage.
No, I mean, they already have a lot of kit out there. I mean, they've got 2 deep-sea ROVs that are capable of going down to these depths on site already. Another one won't harm, but these things take a while to get over there. It's not just a question of, putting them in the back of a lorry and then getting them to arrive. It's not just about the ROV itself. It's about the system that goes with it, the people go with it. It's not a simple task. And they have got a very good French system that arrived a while ago. They've got an American system. They've got the necessary bits they need to bring Titan, the submersible, to the surface if they find it. The problem is they haven't found it, and it's a huge task. They're looking for a needle in a field of haystacks.
Look, Simon, if you're being honest about this, do you think this is now going to be a recovery mission, not a rescue mission?
To be fair, the Coast Guard are still saying they are treating this as a search and rescue. We know that officially the oxygen ran out a short while ago. Having said that, it's not an exact science. They don't know exactly how much oxygen was on board. It depends on how pressurized the cylinders were. But also, it depends on how the people on board the sub were actually using oxygen. If they were conserving it, there's a sort of a 10-15% error margin there, which means they could well have already died, or they could still be alive and have another few hours of oxygen. So it's worth keeping this search and rescue mission going. But as I just mentioned earlier, we're talking once they find it, if they find it, it's still going to take, I think, about 6 hours if everything goes to plan and there are no snags to get it from the seabed back to the surface. It's not a trivial task. And that's assuming it goes well. It could take days if it's not, if it's snared or there's a problem with it. Once they find it, if they find it, it could take days.
There's a bit of a debate, to say the least, raging online, whether or not the people who run these kind of companies, and dare I say it, maybe go on these kind of adventures, are a bit daft, or whether or not they are heroes for trying to be outliers in their fields who make discoveries. I mean, we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the bottom of parts of the oceans, for example. I mean, where are you on that?
I'm afraid I'm in the former. They're not doing research. They're not discovering things down there. There's nothing new to discover down there. And there's nothing we can't do better with ROVs, remotely operated vehicles. They are cheaper, they're safer. We can lead them down there for days at a time. And the operators, the scientists, the true researchers are sitting in a ship, on a ship, controlling everything from the ship. You can't do anything different in a manned submersible. In fact, you can do a lot less. And you've got this additional thing that it's dangerous. It's a bit like, people, it's a adrenaline kick. People are going up into space, they're going down in these things. It is tourism.
And there were reports yesterday of banging sounds being detected supposedly in an SOS fashion. We don't know whether or not those have stopped now. We also don't know necessarily whether or not that's exactly what they were. There was a well-placed source who was suggesting to us here at GB News that there was quite distinctive SOS sounds being detected. What do you make of that? We haven't heard that there's been any more today, which is potentially quite ominous. What else could it have been?
There are many things it could have been, and I think, to be honest with you, had it been a clear sort of Morse code SOS, I think the Coast Guard agency would have been far more straightforward about that. But the fact that they couldn't distinguish what these noises were, at no stage have they said it's an SOS signal. There's no reason to say it isn't if it is. So, I think there's a lot of Chinese whispers going around in terms of what was actually heard. It is possible it could have been a distress call from the submarine, but the ocean is a noisy place. Sound travels hundreds of miles in the ocean. It's an amazing thing. That's why we use sound to probe the ocean. And so that sound could have come from a marine life, although it's unlikely. They can usually dismiss that fairly quickly. But bearing in mind, we've got this huge flotilla of rescue ships, of aircraft and things. These are all adding to the sound. And it's a bit like trying to find survivors in an earthquake rubble. What you want is complete silence, and you can't achieve that with so many ships around. So, I think they generally thought it's worth investigating. I get the impression that they've refocused the effort closer to the ship, and that tells me that they felt that probably the sound wasn't someone sending an SOS.